Were you a new Canadian at first and then you learned from someone? Why Toronto? How did all of these things end up here? Can you speak to some of the gaps that exist in the system? Wow.
Now, Ontario's top doctors last week said they'd like to see ideally under 200 new daily COVID-19 cases before they start to relax measures.
Did you fail the residents in long-term care here in Ontario?
There might be a reason why playgrounds and basketball courts are still closed for now. When kids have COVID-19, they generally don't show symptoms and
they also get their hands everywhere. They touch everything.
The CBC's Lisa Xing joins us now from Queen's Park in Toronto.
The CBC's Lisa Xing joins us from Queen's Park.
The CBC's Lisa Xing joins us from Toronto with the latest.
We're expecting the government to pass the bill sometime this afternoon. Despite all of this controversy, despite all of this tension, really no sign that there are going to be any changes to the autism program going forward, and also no indication that Lisa MacLeod has any plans to step down anytime soon, Bashi.
A big upset here in Milton tonight with Adam Van Hooverden edging out incumbent Lisa Raitt. I am with Lisa right now. Lisa, how are you feeling tonight after this? Well, Adrian, quite a lot of activity in just the last several minutes. A few minutes ago, we heard several loud bangs coming from the house. We saw police move in on the house and also what sounded like gunfire as well.
Any money they save from paying property taxes goes to academics and student support. Now, I put that to homeowners, people who pay their taxes, and asked what they think. A lot of residents are skeptical about guests who violate condo rules with excessive noise and partying, so this agreement is designed to quell those fears. It was encouraging, actually, to know and hear that once the story got published in Chinese, people were physically copying and pasting the Chinese version and sharing it on WeChat, which is kind of like the Chinese version of WhatsApp, and sharing it with their friends and family in mainland China, because we know our CBC site is not accessible in that country, so a lot of attention there.
But CBC Toronto found a number of job listings online specifically asking for applicants with a neutral or minimal accent, no distracting accents either.
I was wondering if you could explain your reasoning behind asking for a good neutral accent.
Our investigation shows Zhang also owes money to employees in Vancouver and more than $23 million in unpaid rent on this building, an unpaid mortgage on this building. No one's here, and it looks like the building's in receivership. Meanwhile, we've found Zhang has more than 20 federally incorporated companies. He owns a BMW, a detached house, 4 condos in Toronto, and another in Vancouver.
We're looking at whether...
But it's not happening yet.
Well, no, this happening doesn't mean you switch a light on and all of a sudden it happens. It is being looked at. We're looking at everything we do, and as you pointed out, if we can free police officers from those jobs, it means we have that many more to deal with the jobs that really do require the authorities and skills of a police officer.
So that hasn't yet been put into practice, though.
You seem to have this expectation that an organization of 8,000 people can change on a dime. It can't.
But they can, and that's according to a public policy consultant I spoke with earlier today.
How you doing?
For the first time in almost 40 years, Derek Twyman sets foot on Canadian soil.
We came through and she said, welcome, welcome home. That was nice.
Haven't heard that in a while.
No, I've been trying to get here for a while.
The 54-year-old and his family moved to North Carolina from Oakville, Ontario as a teenager. Struggling to fit in, he fell in with the wrong crowd. Twyman was sentenced to 160 years in prison for a series of nonviolent home robberies. The judge is on record saying he knew some of the people whose homes were broken into. Twyman thought he'd never get out until lawyers and judges in Ontario, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, and North Carolina took an interest in his case.
Hi, Shane. How are things in the legal world?
Shane Martinez, now a human rights lawyer in Toronto, was just a law student in New Brunswick when he and Twyman first wrote each other 10 years ago. Martinez lobbied politicians, started a postcard campaign, even had Twyman call in a number of times on his campus radio show.
To think that for a completely nonviolent property-related offense, that someone could die in prison, that was the biggest thing.
It was the work of a local lawyer in North Carolina, though, who put in the final push. He called the judge who sentenced Twyman all those years ago, who had a change of heart.
I mean, he found these people, out of thin air kind of thing, and they read the stories and read the communications and felt that it was necessary to get involved. You couldn't buy the support that he has at this point.
Now that he's free, Twyman has his work cut out for him, finding a place of his own and a job to start.
I've taken graphic design, taught ESL, English Second Language, GED class. I was the assistant editor of a newsletter at one of the prisons, teacher's aide in the sewing plant where they made the clothes for the prison. It's that people are going to look and say, oh, this guy's been in prison for 30 years. We don't want him. Not over this guy that just got out of college. It's just I need a starting point.
Despite all this, it's his outlook that has the team that supported him all these years convinced if anyone can succeed, it's him.
I don't know, it's probably just the way I was brought up. Just because he gave me a sentence and I disagreed with the sentence, so I can't fault him for that.
Once he's settled, Twyman says he wants to start a nonprofit to help others like him, Canadians imprisoned abroad, wanting a fresh start. Lisa Xing, CBC News, Toronto.